Welcome, Climate Viewers. My name is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News. It's May 7th, 2017, and we're going to do some awesome chemtrail exposure today. We're going to talk about something I rarely ever talk about, and I really hope that we can set the record straight today. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is the CIA. This is something I rarely ever get into because, it's just one of those things where, people want me to, focus on the facts. And when you're talking about secret government programs, it's pretty complicated to prove your case beyond a shadow of a doubt. But I'm going to show you why today, for the first time ever, why I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, the CIA is involved in rogue geoengineering, the secret government program everybody's dying to see. So let's dig in. Take notes. This is going to be a whopper. So I'm doing this in the spirit of the chemtrail, the second annual Global Chemtrail Summit, which is today. It's in Portland, Oregon, and I've been trying to get video on it all day long, which you can see over here on ClimateViewer.com. The article is The Problem with the Chemtrail Community. It's the last episode I just put up on my YouTube. And maybe you guys have seen it. If you haven't, I suggest you do. I really go into detail about some of the issues facing the community. But regardless, I've already put some stuff up from the summit today. Let me see if I can blow that up a little bit so you guys can see it better. And you see there, it says Amanda and Carla welcoming the audience at the summit. And you got some videos of Dominic and Jolene. And this is a video of Clyde Lewis. Clyde, I think it's Pacific North Weird and Alana Freeland. She's my favorite. And even one of the Kaku trolls is right there in the audience recording Amanda. I got 2 videos of that. And he didn't say anything, so you got to bless him for that. But regardless, that summit seems to be going down well, and I hope that we can get some better video of what's going on to there. So let's get to today's subject, the CIA. All right, so this is some crazy stuff, and all of this is backed up by references. I will try to put them all into a article after this is done. I was going to do the article before, but hell, it's late and it's Sunday. So let's dig in. Over here on weathermodificationhistory.com, you come down to the timeline. You can click right here where it says see the timeline, or you can just search on the page for CIA because it's already up. And that'll kick you down here to June 27, 1976. And something called Project Nile Blue. Now, if you guys haven't heard about this, this is history. And this is going to be a history lesson, of course. But what I want to point out is around the same time, 1967 to 72, the U.S. Air Force was doing Operation Popeye. Now, most of my audience already knows what Popeye is. We were doing weather warfare in Vietnam. So what I would suggest, if you guys don't know about Popeye, is come over here to ClimateViewer.com and go to the sidebar, and right about here is a geoengineering presentation called Geoengineering, Weather Modification, and Weaponizing Nature that will get you up to speed. And then you will know all about Popeye because I really break it down there. But regardless, weather warfare from the U.S. Air Force here, economic weather warfare from the CIA here in 1976. So what do we have? This is a quote. But the seeding near Cuba was to cause less rain, not more. It was supposed to squeeze rain out of clouds before they reached the island. You might say we tried to embargo rain clouds. What? Dude, I've been doing this 6 years and I just found this out this year. So this is something you really can't find anything on. And all of the references I have been able to find on it are down here on the post. This is on, and this is June 27, 1976. Here's the two articles. One of these was done by Dominic, my good friend Dominic Marama. He's at the Chemtrail Summit. He spoke first, along with his lady Jolene. And this article is another CIA plot, Cuba crops. That's where I got the quote from. And the other references is right here. CIA are the weathermen. And this has some written right here. Can't really make out the first part, but it says 72876. So also newspaper clipping from 1976. So I did some research into Nile blue. Of course, it was like a DARPA computer modeling thing, but this Nile blue is referenced with this sugar cane rain embargo. Is my mic a little hot? I'm feeling like it is. I'm gonna turn my level down just a bit because it feels like I'm yelling, and I don't want to ruin all this with a crackly mic. There you go. So this is something nobody talks about. I have very little information on it. I have 2 newspaper clippings and some references that are very good references, but nonetheless need more information on this. So that's the start of this. We've got back in 1976, the CIA cloud seeding and attacking sugar crops in Cuba. It gets weirder. So also, this paper is 1972, I believe. No, this is 1966. The CIA's secret airline, not so secret. Now we're starting to get interesting. So this was actually called Air America, and there was actually a movie about this. In fact, there's a freaking Wikipedia page about it right here. It's called Air America, and it was a American passenger and cargo airline cut by the U.S. government in 1950 as a dummy corporation for the CIA operations in China. Okay, so this is an example of a secret airline owned by the CIA right around the same time that they were doing cloud seeding to destroy crops in Cuba. Coincidentally, I'm sure. Moving up to today. So the nuts and butts of this thing. Now, I wrote this article 2015-02, so February of 2015. It's called The CIA, Weather Warfare, and Climate Terrorism. Now we're going to dig into the CIA a little deeper. So this just happened February 2015. Chill factor at the CIA weather query. And really, in a nutshell, the CIA called Alan Robach. If you don't know who Alan, he's a geoengineer. He is, let's just leave it at that. He's a geoengineer. He believes in solar radiation management, albedo modification, stratospheric spraying of the sky, all that stuff. So this geoengineering scientist, climate scientist, gets a call from the CIA, and they say, quote, Alan says, quote, I got a phone call from 2 men who said we work as consultants for the CIA, and we'd like to know if some other country was controlling our climate, would we know about it? Quote, I told them, after thinking about a little bit, we probably would, because if you put enough material in the atmosphere to reflect sunlight, we would be able to detect it and see the equipment that was putting it up there. At the same time, I thought they were probably also interested in if we could control somebody else's climate, could they detect it? So really, this is the CIA calling Robach and saying, if somebody was spraying our skies, would we even know it? Now, this is interesting for, the chemtrail community, because that's exactly what we're saying. Now, could it be that the CIA is saying, if we, the CIA, were spraying, would you guys know it? That's a possibility. So let's answer that possibility. Well, it turns out I've got this in bold. The CIA is a major funder of the National Academy's report. Okay, so we'll get into that in a second. Let me screw down here. We'll screw past that. So it turns out we cannot detect rogue geoengineering. And this comes from the Weather Modification Conference in 2015. Excuse me, my throat gave out on me. Albedo variability limits potential detection of engineered increases in reflected sunlight. This is by Diane J. Seidel from NOAA. And you can't make this stuff up. So what you got here is she's basically saying, and you can watch this directly from the weather modification. It's the 20th conference on planned and inadvertent weather modification. If you guys don't know about these, you really need to come over here. This, just clicking this one link will probably blow your heads off based on the crap I see on Facebook on a daily basis. But Diane Seidel at that meeting, you can see it on my YouTube channel too. I uploaded this the minute she said it. I was like, holy crap. She said, a fundamental scientific question is whether an engineered increase in reflectivity, albedo, either from short duration field experiments like the one David Keith's doing next year in Arizona, or from prolonged implementation of solar radiation management scheme would be detectable with the current global climate observing system. We've estimated that that's not going to actually happen, because basically they say, in summary, although very large increases are potentially detectable, interannual albedo blah, 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 overwhelms the maximum conceivable increases associated with the leading proposed SRM schemes. What they're basically saying here, this is science jargon, but what they're saying, very large albedo increases are potentially detectable. So if you really geoengineered harder than an MFer, we might be able to detect it. But if you're talking about the regular kind of geoengineering and the kind of chemtrails everybody bitches about online, we cannot tell the difference between whether God made those clouds, whether planes made those clouds, or whether Russia made those clouds. And as a national security concern, the CIA is literally asking a geoengineer who's talking about it in the public, going, I got a call from the CIA, because it is that serious a problem. That is exactly what I talk about in my presentation. That's exactly what I've been saying for 3, 4, 5 years. Weather warfare was banned in 1978 at NMOD. There is no way to catch a person doing weather warfare. Therefore, the NMOD is useless without a verification system. That's what ClimateViewer.org is. That's what I'm trying to build, a sensor network. You can buy a sensor, put it in your backyard. We're going to be building the first test sensor for the backyard, hopefully this year. I'm not going to put a timestamp on it because I am extremely busy. And if you guys supported me more, I would have more time to do this. So right now I can squeeze out, a show on the weekend. We'll dig deeper each week, and hopefully this will resonate. All right, give me just 1 second while I wet my whistle. So what do we got so far? We got the CIA calling up a geoengineer saying, could we tell if Russia was geoengineering our skies? Geoengineer says, yeah, I'm pretty sure we could. But NOAA scientist goes to weather modification conference, February 2015, says, nah, not a chance in hell. We don't have sensors that good. And there's the video on my YouTube. You can watch it. So we're moving along. Weak laws. This is what I just said, that basically we have no way to detect this stuff. We need a worldwide sensor network to detect hostile and non-hostile climate and weather intervention technologies. I love this stuff. It's been, a couple years since I wrote this, and I'm reading my own stuff going, yep, I still agree with that. Some of the stuff I wrote a year ago, I don't agree with, but, bad guy. So here's the thing. First heard about the CIA's interest in geoengineering back in July of 2013 when I was talking about it on Ken Caldera's forum. And I said to the guys, and you can see this right here, this is a Google group link where it's Ken Caldera Geoengineers Forum. I argued with Ken Caldera from 2012 to late 2014, where I debated him on his forum. I whipped his ass every single argument I ever had with him. You should go read them. None of y'all know that about me. I don't brag. Now I'm going to go read it. It's awesome. I whooped his ass. Whooped his ass. So I says to Ken Caldera, so much for transparency. Will the geoengineering become national security and thus hidden under classified stamps? Has any member of this group ever been approached by the CIA or National Academy of Science, or are you not at liberty to say? I've been hopeful that this community would embrace open discussion and sincerely hope that whatever comes of this study, it remains open to the public. And of course, Mick West came along going, well, you know, CIA, this and that. Well, the CIA had a Center on Climate Change and National Security, which was open from 2009 to 2012. It closed. CIA opens Center on Climate Change and National Security, 2009. 2012, CIA closes its climate change office. Interesting. During that time, they decided the CIA studied that national security implications of climate change. This work and this is the last thing I heard when they closed their CIA climate change office. This work continues to be performed by a dedicated team in a new office that looks at economic and energy matters affecting America's national security. So the CIA's climate change dudes are continuing their work in a different office that focuses on economic and energy matters, like the Department of Energy, the Department of Economic Security. I don't know. Regardless, they still at it. So let's move along. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the CIA getting its mitts into climate change as a national security concern. And what do they mean by that? What they mean is climate change is Al-Qaeda, is ISIS. In fact, they say that climate change is worse than ISIS. And if you don't believe me, here's the article. CIA backs $630,000 scientific study on controlling global climate. Conspiracy theorists rejoice. This is on Mother Jones. It was dated July 17, 2013. And this is when the CIA actually funded a study on geoengineering. Gets worse, right? It's getting much worse, right? So 2012, they closed their climate change office. A year later, they go drops, over $500,000 on a geoengineering study. Oh, excuse me, a climate engineering study. At this point, geoengineering has been rebranded from geoengineering to climate engineering. Newsflash, y'all missed that. Back 2013, it was called climate engineering. Evidence for that, the DC Geoengineering Consortium renamed itself to the Forum for Climate Engineering Assessment, FCEA. And then they blocked me on Twitter. Regardless, moving along. So I bitch at him about HARP a little bit and all that. We're going along. So then we had the National Academy of Science CIA funded reports. It was called the Climate Intervention Reports. What they did was they now tried to rebrand from geoengineering to climate engineering. Now they want to call it climate intervention. I want you to understand now, the CIA paid for this damn study. And what they came up with was, yeah, we shouldn't spray the skies worldwide yet because the shit's dangerous, but we should call it climate intervention because it'll help with our dissemination of propaganda, which will help the public to better accept a crazy fucking idea like spraying the entire planet with the entire sky worldwide with sulfuric acid, diamond dust, aluminum, titanium, all of those metal particulates, nanoparticles. The list goes on. Calcium lately. They say, oh, well, calcium will be safe. What's calcium going to do to the ozone layer, let alone your lungs? So these guys, they push on. CIA is now involved, and that makes it even weirder. So I brought that up because here's a link to it. DC Geoengineering Consortium. You're going to be weirded out when you get over there. It's going to be called Forum for Climate Engineering Assessment. Moving along. So these guys basically summed up everybody's public response to the CIA reports, which I was at that webinar. I was there live harassing the hell out of them, going this and that and this and that. I think I have a transcript of that. Boy, that'd bore the hell out of you if I read it. Let's move on. So the geoengineers respond, and basically, this is Ken Caldera, and I got his response right here. This is on a thread. Just so you guys can see what Ken Caldera's forum looks like, so you know I'm not bullshitting you about all this. You can see chill factor at the CIA. The article came out, and this is Ken Caldera going, hell no. Hell no, the military doesn't have nothing to do with this. So he says there is absolutely no evidence that any U.S. intelligence agency has any interest in climate intervention for anything other than defense-related informational purposes. That's Ken Caldera. Here's his phone number. Anybody who wants it. I've been a member of this group for 2.5 years, debating the hell out of them. I've never called Ken. Kind of timid. Regardless, did I just put his phone number on? Now, you people behave with that phone number I just put on there, because I would hate for you guys to be writing Ken Caldera at 260 Panama Street, Stanford, California, 94305, or calling him at 1-650-704-7212 and saying anything to Mr. Caldera about this conversation we're having right now. That would be very awkward. Furthermore, there is no plausible scenario in which climate intervention could be used effectively as a weapon, which is just the stupidest thing I ever heard. So I'm going to debunk Ken Caldera right here. Could climate intervention be used as a weapon? The International Assessment for Geoengineering Proposals, IAGP, determined, based on Ben Kravitz and Alan Robach's research on the effects of solar geoengineering of spraying chemicals in the sky, that it will dry up rain in the southern hemisphere. That will kill people. If that ain't a weapon, I don't know what is. We are in a water war currently. And if you can do geoengineering, solar radiation management, albedo modification, where you spray chemicals on a worldwide basis, and you already know that a natural analog to that is when volcanoes go off, rainfall in the southern hemisphere tends to dry up, rainfall increases in the northern hemisphere. So unless you guys are okay with massive floods all through the northern hemisphere and dry conditions, to say the least, across the rainforest, all of Africa, their only problem right now is trying to figure out how to deal with the dead people. So whenever you hear the words geoengineering governance, understand that that simply means how to deal with dead people, how to pay the losers, as they are calling them. So could it be used as a weapon? You bet your sweet ass. And whoever has their hands on that thermostat will control the most deadly weapon ever invented, the ability to deny rain to entire countries and regions, let alone hemispheres. Moving along. So back from, let's pull back. I've gone astray. I'm going to close some stuff. We're back to the article. This is all one article I wrote in 2015 so far. We haven't even made it through that. And there's the quote, so you know that that's a real thing. I've, done all this. All right, so moving down here. Yeah, so 1 minute to midnight says in chat about some diamond dust. Also, I have a paper, and I'm not going to cover it tonight, but you guys can look it up. Project Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, where you can use 3 HARP-style ionospheric heaters, a 13.65 hertz megahertz tone, and compress atmospheric methane, meaning methane clouds, into diamond dust. Yeah. So they talk about don't cross the streams. Well, they're talking about crossing 3 streams to compress methane clouds into diamond dust to reflect sunshine. Project Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You'll see it. It might have Resonated written on it, or resonated.com. That's me. Don't fear. That's still me. Before I was Jim Lee on ClimateViewer, I was resonated.com and nobody knew me from a hole in the wall. So why am I talking about all this stuff? Well, the Air Force, I got a paper right here. These are two FOIAs. These are from 1994. And this is from the sunshineproject.org. Might as well give that a little peekaroo. Let's see. Don't let me down. We're live. This website has been deleted from the internet. So I know that you guys probably have not seen it. Did you just say, have you ever covered the Sunshine Project as I was typing it, as I'm on the page? That's very odd. We had a little quinky dink in chat where Mad as Hell News says, have you ever covered the Sunshine Project as it's coming up on the screen? Of course, you got a little delay. So they're like 5 seconds behind me. Dude, you psychic, bro. That's cool. So anyway, the Sunshine Project has a lot of information on this, and we're going to dig into that. So I've got two of these FOIAs up here, and what you'll see is one is from China Lake, California, and this is the U.S. Navy, and you're going to see something interesting on here. NAWCW penis. This is the words non-lethal are on here. Risk and limitations. Risk is low in the initial proposed study effort investigation and is assumed E&MD follow-on involved the modification of commercial techniques and devices to meet military applications and not the development of new technology. The application of weather modification requires suitable meteorological conditions and therefore has that operational limitation. I know of no countermeasures. Ooh, boy, that gives me chill up my back. And then they talk about how much it'll cost, about $165,000 here. Here's some more money. Hell yeah, I remember Max. I haven't talked to Max Malone in forever. Tell him to holler at your boy. So this is the Navy one right here. And then you see they've got it 1996, 1997, 99, 2001, 2003, 2004, operational capability by 2004. Interesting. Using carbon black dust. So I thought that was interesting because it sprung a little gear for me. Because if these guys and these FOIAs that I got from the Sunshine Project at China Lake is the Naval Research Lab. It is where the cold cloud modification bombs were made for Operation Popeye. And you could see those right here on the side of this plane. That's one of them right there. It's a flare canister set. Thought I had the cold cloud bomb here. What a letdown. Moving back. So they're talking about how the Navy and Air Force want to use carbon black dust to modify the weather. Well, in Owning the Weather 2025, right there where everybody missed it, there was this chart, and it said CBD star 2005 carbon black dust technologies to be developed by the DoD. And I thought that was interesting because this FOIA actually said that this plan to use carbon black delivery system completed 2003. Engineering design for airborne carbon black delivery systems completed 2003. Operational capability 2004. Well, shit, they said they wanted it done by 2005. That's pretty impressive. An impressive coincidence where a FOIA and the Owning the Weather 2025 matched up. I was like, whoa, all right, so we're on to something hot here. It gets better. So we're going to skip that because that's interesting, but whatever. So it turns out there was this Test Technology Symposium 97. Might as well show it. This is also an article on ClimateViewer. You can't find this anywhere else on the internet because it was deleted from the internet, and I had to pull it up. And it's going to take forever, like they always do. I click off of it. I come back. There it is, magic. So I got this from, I think it's right here, archive.org / it's plh.af.mil. And this is actually an Army website that I got it from originally, and it was deleted from the military website. You could see the original archive.org file. I didn't make any of this shit up. Oh, we doing a good one today. I'm bringing out all the stuff that I never tell anybody because it's too much fun. It's the Chemtrail Summit. We're going to really talk about who's behind the secret chemtrails and why I believe they're behind it. And I got all the evidence to prove my side of the story. So in 1997, they had the Test Technology Symposium. 97, the Army After Next, How Will We Test? Weather Modification by Dr. Arnold Barnes from the U.S. Air Force Phillips Lab, GPO, Hanscom Air Force Base, MA. And there's an abstract here and a compressed PowerPoint file here. I even put it up on my script. And you can see that the compressed file come from dtc.army.mil. Drop the link in chat. Only for my chat people. Ask for a link, you shall get a link. So this is the presentation that they gave, and this is what it looks like, guys. Weather modification, test them. And what's interesting about this, and I think anybody who's ever seen Owning the Weather will recognize, that this list is exactly the same as what was in Owning the Weather. So for all the guys out there that ever trolled you and told you Owning the Weather was just a think piece, it was just something written at the Air College, it was just something that meant nothing, it was just, you know, like it was like fiction, bro. If that was the case, then why did Dr. Arnold Barnes go and give this presentation to a joint Air Force Army meeting the next year? Because Owning the Weather was written from 1995 to 96. And then the next year, in 1997, these guys had this meeting. Here's where it gets really freaking interesting. One of the slides, weather modification using carbon black. So now we're back to this carbon black thing. I'm going, bro, that's crazy. Increased precipitation, muddy dirt roads, flood fields, decreased troop comfort level, decreased tractability. That's the same shit they did in Operation Popeye. Are you telling me you can't get that link I just clicked into chat? Mad as hell news. You can't click that shit? Seriously? YouTube's not allowing that? Are you serious? Let me know. So here we have the military talking about current capability as of 97. Right here. This is what they can do as of 1997. Targeted fog dispersal. Local changes in precipitation, cloud modification for surveillance, hole boring, create, suppress, cirrus, contrails. 1997, baby. Ionospheric modification. We all know about HARP. I'm going to start talking about HARP after I beat this chemtrail dead horse and people get it. Because I want people to get it, and then I'm going to go talk about HARP again because I'm dying to go talk about HARP again. It's been a while. Hell, I got to go look up some stuff, find out what the hell's going on right now. So the point I'm trying to make here is this is some fancy shit when you see this slide right here, and people don't talk about this. This is the military after Owning the Weather, after talking about carbon black dust by 2005, after 2 FOIAs say that not only the Air Force but the U.S. Navy are both after carbon black dust. This damn slide says weather modification using carbon black, increase cirrus cloud cover. That is chemtrails. That is the U.S. Air Force, Phillips Lab, Arnold Barnes telling the Air Force and Army in 97, right after Owning the Weather, we're going to use carbon black dust to make clouds to deny visual satellite or high altitude reconnaissance, decrease light level for nighttime operations. Now, I bet you there ain't a motherfucker on the planet that thought that chemtrails could be used to make it dark at night. So that the guys who have nighttime goggles, night vision goggles, are more effective. That's crazy. Deny visual high satellite or high altitude reconnaissance. There's even a paper called Operational Weather Control in 2030, where they talk about people using lasers in space and making cloud cover to block lasers in space. This is the future. Thank you for that. Thank you for validating that the links are great. Appreciate it, guys. So this is interesting stuff, and I'll drop the CIA link that we're on right now. Here's the article. It's called The CIA Weather Warfare and Climate Terrorism. So I'm going to move down, and of course, that's the final slide, summary, current capabilities, and this is, of course, 1997 when it was delivered. Create, suppress, serious contrails. The FOIA is on the article we're looking at right now, CIA Weather Warfare and Climate Terrorism, and it's on a couple. I mean, I've posted this for several years now. Hell, I had Michael Murphy on the phone when he was making his third film, and I explained this carbon black dust stuff to a T, and he was like, I'm making the third film about this, and then he disappeared. So, moving along. We're not going to talk about HARP. I've got HARP stuff in here. That's my old HARP map from the Google Earth. Now it's not Google Earth because Google Earth shut me down at Cesium, but I'll show the HARP map briefly because I'm also going to be talking a lot about, HARP pretty soon and these mapping this stuff out. But you can come over to ClimateViewer 3D, click on electromagnetic, and click on ionospheric heaters. See them all. There's like mainly, let's say 5, 6, 7 of them max that I would say are really classify as a heater, like the Puerto Rico one, the HARP, the High Pass, which is closed, Tromso, Jicamarca, Peru. But regardless, I have the world's most accurate map on that subject, bar none. And I don't know of another one. So moving back. And a short break from my throat. All right. So we're going to skip the HARP stuff, and I'm going to just see what else is in this article real quick because I don't want to beat a dead horse. Climate change and national security. So this is really what it's all about. Why would the hell would the CIA be involved in this? And I told you, it's national security. Fresh water has been dubbed blue gold in many publications as potable water will be to this century what oil was to the last century. This is called the blue gold rush, the water wars. Now, a lot of you may not have heard about that because there's so much bitching and crying and moaning about CO2, but not a lot of talk about fresh, clean drinking water. And I think that you guys look at that. I have a great article called The Blue Gold Rush and the Water Wars Using the Rivers of the Troposphere by a guy who claims to steer the rivers of the sky with radio waves. And I've got the applications where they modified the weather in Texas to prove it. So this is all real, referenced real stuff. This is a fear porn free zone. Global Trends 2015, a dialogue about the future of non-government experts. CIA report, December 2000. Yet another coincidence. By 2015, nearly half of the world's population, more than 3 billion people, will live in countries that are water stressed, have less than 1,700 cubic meters of water per capita per year, mostly Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, and northern China. But it gets worse. An abrupt climate change scenario and its implications for United States national security. This is October 2003. Then this bad mamma jamma came out. Water 2025. Now, everybody in this chat room's probably heard of owning the weather in 2025. How many of you have heard of water 2025? Ralph Linneman's heard of Nestle and the California water problems. Everybody's heard about the California problems and the water problems. How many of you have heard of the U.S. government Water 2025 preventing crises and conflict in the West? This website actually has a freaking map of where there will be war in Arizona by 2025 over water. If you thought Mad Max was just a freaking movie, I lived in Arizona for 7 years. I'm from South Carolina, and my wife says, we agree that, I can go dig a well in my yard and I can get all the water I ever wanted. Never going to run out of water. Hell, I pour it on the ground. You know what? You know, if I care, zero. You know why? Because I got a ditch in the backyard. It's going to collect all that water. It's going to go back in the ground. Never going to run out of water. But in Arizona, if you try to drill in your backyard, they will throw your ass in jail because somebody owns the water under your own land. Rant over, moving along. So the Water 2025 website, I wouldn't dare try to open this government website. Well, it's on archive.org. Why don't we take a peek? So here it is, preventing conflict in the West. This is the U.S. Department of the Interior, Bureau of Reclamation. If you don't know, the Bureau of Reclamation is in charge of all of the cloud seeding projects across the West Coast. Interesting side fact. But regardless, Water 2025, you got to look at the map. I was going to try to click the map while I was there, but I'm scared to look around. I mean, if I click something, it might blow up on us, and that would just be sad. That's not the map. Anyway, they got a map on there where people are going to die because of water wars. So they take this stuff pretty seriously. Climate change and national security, an agenda for action. Council on Foreign Relations, November 2007. Global Climate Change and National Security Implications Strategic Studies Institute, U.S. Army War College, May 2008. National Intelligence Assessment on the National Security Implications of Global Climate Change to 2030, House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. I think you get the point. U.S. Navy Climate Change Roadmap, Task Force on Climate Change, Oceanographer of the Navy, April 2010. Pentagon Report, U.S. military considers climate change a threat multiplier that could exacerbate terrorism, October 2014. National and Environmental Security, two sides of the same coin, February 2015. The Pentagon and Climate Change, How Deniers Put National Security at Risk, by Jeff Goodall, Rolling Stone magazine. I want to throw up in my mouth. So Jeff Goodall actually wrote the article, Can Dr. Evil Save the World from Geoengineering? Which, after he talked to David Keith, he asked Rolling Stone to delete, and he now supports geoengineering. Flip-flop. Jeff Goodall writing an article about how deniers put national security at risk because now he's a geoengineering advocate after talking about how all of this came from Lawrence Livermore National Lab, where Ken Caldera hung out with Edward Teller, the father of the H-bomb, whose best friends call him Dr. Evil. That's rich. So yeah, this is all about national security. It all started really with its most recent push in 1994. There was a series of 3 papers that were written, came out of Lawrence Livermore National Lab. It was Edward Teller, Roderick Hyde, and Lowell Wood, known as Teller, Wood, and Hyde. The 3 of them got together with Ken Caldera in their second paper, where they had Ken Caldera basically model a future and say, in the first paper, they said, we're going to geoengineer the planet to stabilize climate change and save us from national security concerns. In the second paper, Lawrence Livermore Edward Teller and company hook up with Ken Caldera. Ken Caldera makes a computer model and says, hey, this geoengineering shit looks like it might actually work. Then they write a third paper and it's off to the races. Then you throw in the Nobel laureate who, put his stamp of approval on it. And suddenly this is like big business. Everybody's talking about making, whoopee with the sky, spraying, chemicals everywhere because it came from a national lab and Ken Caldera said it would work. If you don't know that part of the story, you don't know shit about geoengineering. I mean, really, because that's where the impetus for it today comes from, that place. So this is all about national security. I think I've proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt with all the damn links I just threw at you. and they're all on the link I provided in chat. It'll be in the link here. You can Google it. CIA, Weather Warfare and Climate Terrorism. Hell, it's on the front page of ClimateViewer, dead center in the featured section. So that's Jim Fleming. If you guys don't know James Fleming, he's the only researcher on the planet I would say is a better weather modification researcher than me, only because he's been doing it longer. And I hope to do it better than him one day. I'd also like to talk to him on the phone. He won't take my calls. So this is about, I go in here and I also talk about the Department of Homeland Security steering hurricanes. They actually got with Bill Gates and Ken Caldera and Roderick Hyde and Lowell Wood, interestingly enough, got patents together to steer hurricanes. You can't make this shit up. There's the patents. I won't go through that. This is all, and those are the guys that went to it. A couple geoengineers up in there, Alan Robach. There's John Latham, Stephen Salter and John Latham, excuse me. And of course, they also want to use carbon black aerosol to steer hurricanes. So are we seeing a pattern here? Department of Homeland Security is steering hurricanes because they consider hurricanes to be national security because it's climate change related. And if you have a hurricane come along and do $3 billion of damage, now they're going to say, we don't ever want to have a Katrina again. They say so right here in their freaking Department of Homeland Security Hurricane Modification Workshop meeting. So they plan on steering hurricanes out to sea or slowing them down using these things right here: salt seeding tests, carbon black aerosol, upper ocean cooling, ion generators. We'll talk about ion generators in the next video I'm going to be doing, actually, because something world first just happened and I haven't made a video about it in a week and a damn half. And I don't want to say anything about it today because I don't want to ruin the surprise. But next video is going to be about it. Something to do with ions, drones. Ooh. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip past the rest of this because I go on at length about, whether basically at the tail end of this, I wanted to kind of prove to everybody, hey, here's all the other stuff you don't know about, like weather derivatives and how they bet on the hurricane, CME group hurricane contract regions, and how they bet on where the hurricanes are going to hit. And, on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, public event contracts. If you've never heard of event contracts, please click on this link. It'll blow your freaking mind. But it's all about the Benjamins. So, money, cloud seeding generators, all that stuff. Let's just throw this out. So we're back to CIA because we've gone way past that. So CIA, national security, crops in Cuba, cloud seeding 1976. Now we're to today. They have funded a geoengineering study. They have tried to rename climate engineering to climate intervention. And here's where it gets really freaking weird. New York billing dispute reveals details of secret CIA rendition flights. Wait a minute. I thought that Air America, this crap that went on back in the 60s, they weren't doing not so fast. This is the rendition. Let me get it right. The renditionproject.org. Link in the chat room. And what you're going to see, something very interesting. These are secret flights. Flights with no transponders. Flights with planes that nobody can really find on any flight tracking radar. Flights with people who are being taken against their will for secret purposes. Flights that could include chemtrail flights. Yes, the CIA planes are always white. We're going to get into that. That's what this whole damn video is about, baby. I've been saying this shit for 3-4 years, and everybody's like, well, Jim Lee doesn't believe in the secret. I believe that both can happen at the same time, that you can have pollution coming out of United Airlines because they've been doing that since the 50s. And that gives you a great cover to do some real geoengineering with your secret planes. So let's get into that. So if you look through these rendition flights, what you're going to see is that, yes, it is possible to have secret planes in the sky that nobody knows what the hell they're doing, flying around all the damn time. And I get this a lot from the debunkers. They're like, well, under what circumstances could the government ever pull this up? I mean, It's ridiculous. It gets worse. So that's one page with a whole bunch of CIA flights you never heard of, all tracked out by experts who are obviously good at what they do. Let's get another one. So this is a different website. This is over at vectors.usc.edu. Flight tracking. Most peculiar airline. CIA reconnaissance pilots and all kinds of other black flights. This is right here. This is California. This is where Area 51 is. Did you know that the CIA has a secret airline that they use specifically to fly back and forth to Area 51? It's called Janet. Did you know that? We'll talk about it. So Janet stands for just another non-existent terminal. Okay? A highly classified small fleet of passenger aircraft known as Janet is operated by the United States Air Force to transport military and contractor employees. It mainly serves the Nevada National Security Site, most notably Area 51 and TTR, from their terminal at Las Vegas McCarran International Airport. The fleet's Janet call sign, from which its de facto name comes, is said to stand for just another non-existent terminal. Now, this is some interesting crap right here on this Janet page. Buckle your seatbelts. All the 737-600 aircraft are ex-Air China, and with the exception of the 1-2, were previously operated by defunct China Southwest Airlines before being acquired for the U.S. Air Force operations in 2008. Wait, that coincides with some CIA crap. Going to continue. The aircraft were initially taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base before being transferred to Las Vegas. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Quick poll. Who in the audience knows what's at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? Come on. It's where the FOIA was at the beginning of this video. The Air Force one. China Lake was the one. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was the other FOIA for where they're doing weather modification. Now, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is home to the Air Force Research Lab. That's where all of the weather modification activity is stored, including space weather modification. So even the stuff that happened at HARP, all of the transcripts of that are at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Geophysical Directorate. Anyway, so Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the home of all of the weather control and space weather control for the Air Force. And just coincidentally, all of these Janet planes, which were bought from China, it's to you that the U.S. Air Force bought some planes from China, sent them to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and now they're just suddenly using those planes from China to fly to Area 51. Sounds like a great story, right? Regardless, here's a second secret airline you never heard of. Got a nice little red stripe down the side of it, but it's mostly white plane. Regardless, 27 years later, CIA pilot tells of using secret Costa Rican airstrip to traffic drugs, cocaine. It could get worse. There's a secret U.S. government airline that flies out of commercial airlines right here. There it is. It's a nice video on Janet. There's also the Civil Air Transport. It's a nationalist Chinese airline later owned by the CIA that the United States covert operations through East and Southeast Asia during the Cold War missions were in assistance of this and that. This is also part of the, I believe this is the American Air stuff as well. CIA's clandestine services, history of the civil air transport, and now we come to the ugliest part of this story. Chemtrails, commodities, and terrorism. Because this is really what it's all about. You know, the scary stuff, right? Because nobody really wants to talk about clouds. You know, planes making clouds. That's boring shit, right? Well, what if I showed you something like this? Chemical weapon trails, like harassing agents, tear agents, vomiting agents, malodorants, psychological agents, stuff that'll knock you out, stuff that'll blister your ass. Well, turns out a presentation for the Airline Pilot Association. Let's see if that bad boy will load. Looks like it will. Good. This is for the Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate. And this is an Air Force thing. This is an Army thing. This is an all of them thing. So there's this future war. It's called Joint Non-Lethal Warfare. Non-lethal warfare is a fancy way of saying a more gentle warfare, a warfare made of radio waves and chemicals where nobody really dies. Yep. Placement of incapacitated aerosol generators onboard aircraft, as well as injectable pharmaceuticals unit outside of the cockpit door. Nice little photo of it right here. This is from the Air Force, I believe it was. And what they basically said was, we could put entanglement nets, and this was a proposal to catch terrorists on planes. Okay, so if the terrorists get out of hand in the back, a net drops from the ceiling, catches everybody at the same time. That'll suck. Smoke generator, armored door, slippery foam dispenser, so something to make you slip like you're on a banana peel if you're up at the front. Injectable pharmaceuticals and tasers. What? Incapacitate agent generator. Right there in the top. Big fog cloud. Now, this is a real thing that was actually proposed, that they put aerosol generators on planes that could knock all of the passengers out simultaneously with a sealed door so the pilot could still fly. Getting interesting. The gay bomb. This is the stuff your military is doing today, and I'm going to tell you why this matters when we end this video. This is a real thing. Reference: harassing, annoying, and bad guy identifying chemicals. Once again, we are back at thesunshineproject.org. Gotta love them, man. They work their ass off. This is a FOIA response as well, and you can see that it has some scratchy reading on it, but regardless, the fun part's over here. It was a gay bomb. I mean, the purpose of it, and there's even a freaking Wikipedia page on it, so you can go look that up. It is a real thing. The halitosis bomb and gay bomb are informal names to two theoretical non-lethal chemical weapons that a United States Air Force research lab speculated about producing. Air Force Research Lab. Interesting. The theories involving discharging female sex pheromones over enemy forces in order to make them sexually attracted to each other. I mean, damn. Dude, that would suck. Woo! In 1994, the Wright Laboratory in Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force Library, a predecessor to today's United States Air Force Research Lab, produced a 3-page proposal on a variety of non-lethal chemical weapons, which was later obtained by the Sunshine Project through Freedom of Information Act request. So, why am I talking about this Sunshine Project stuff? Well, because damn it, it's interesting. It comes from the Sunshine Project as well. The U.S. Department of Defense Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Program, Presentation 4, Airline Pilot Association, October 2001. September 11th, October 2001. Shortly after September 11th, 2001, the military talked to them about, what can we help you guys with? I mean, weapons that are explicitly designed to primarily employ so as to incapacitate personnel or material while minimizing fatalities, permanent injury to personnel, and undesired damage to property in the environment. That is what a non-lethal weapon is. DoD non-lethal weapon definition. It doesn't kill. Soft warfare. Chemtrails. These are chemtrails. These are chemtrails today. This is secret shit. This is FOIA stuff. You don't get this anywhere else, baby. Counter personnel, crowd control, incapacitate individuals, deny area to personnel, clear facilities, get the hell out of here. Counter material, area denial of vehicles, disable, neutralize vehicles, vessels, counter capability, disable, neutralize facilities and systems, deny use of weapons of mass destruction. Complementary, not core. Ooh. So what they're doing here is they've actually got, this is a grenade launcher that can shoot chemical weapons. So think about this: Occupy Wall Street. They have a chemical weapon that is a invisible dye. They can fire it from a gas canister. It'll dye everybody at the riot. They go door to door, flash a little black light on your ass, take you to jail. That's some chemtrails. That's the kind of chemtrails of the future. That's what they're doing. They can deploy that from drones, as shown in this slide somewhere in here. They've got all kinds of stuff. So there's the OICW, Objective Individual Combat Weapon, firing chemical munitions that can air burst, meaning that on the OICW, they can set the distance that they're going to fire that sumbitch and say, 40, clicks, boom, it'll blow up midair right in the middle of your camp, die everybody, or make you gay. So that's the kind of stuff they're talking about. And in this pretty crazy thing, that's where I saw this. That's where I got the slide from. Pause for a moment because I will go dry on my frotis. So this is the kind of stuff that I be thinking about, when you got the Joint Directorate talking about spraying chemtrails inside of planes, what's a possibility they might spray some outside of a plane? Just thought. Passenger mobilization says acetate agent generator mentioned a second time right here on second slide, even though there were so many options on this slide to choose from. They just happened to say this is their favorite. So just a heads up. Seriously, they could be a real thing. I mean, something to knock everybody out in the plane. So I found that interesting, that there is a Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate. They are making things like gay bombs and malodorants. And here is a peek inside of that. Now let's see, what is my link to? My link is to the original PDF. That would be very large. So let's just look at the image, preferably in a new tab. There it is. Major fail. A peek inside the Joint Non-Lethal Chemical Weapons Program. If you're looking for chemtrails, there's no better place to send your FOIA to than these assholes. So even though you may think the chemical warfare is illegal, even though it is a banned practice, everybody knows that everybody still makes them. So this is also obtained by the Sunshine Project. I pulled this from archive.longer on the internet, ClimateViewer.com. And you can see this is the places where they are storing these chemical weapons and building these new soft kill weapons of the future, these chemtrails, these chemical weapons. Fascinating stuff. This is a peek inside the real deal. Besides tear gas, like comatives, anesthetic agents that would put people to sleep or in a good mood. Susan Levine, Joint Non-Lethal Weapon Research Director, 1999. Interestingly enough, the word chemtrails was used for the first time on the internet in 1997. Back to the story. So I got that one there. And then here is the high containment labs and other facilities for the U.S. Biodefense Program. You put the two together, that's a scary ass map. I'm going to save that one for the thing. You can go look at that thing there. Agent Green. Have you ever heard of this crap? All you have heard of Agent Orange. Agent Green is a biological warfare agent that America has been spraying all over Colombia recently. And it's called mycoherbicide, and it's the Fusarium and Pleospora. Basically, it's called F-oxysporum. It's a mold, and you spray it on cocaine plants down in. We have the U.S. military spraying chemtrails all over Colombia, South America, to destroy the cocaine plants, the poppy plants, and stuff like that. So this chemical weapon called Agent Green has now made its way back home to Texas. 1989-90, Texas, USA farmers and ranchers report numerous outbreaks of illness among pigs and horses. Tests find fuminicin concentrations in the corn-based horse feed as high as 126 parts per million. That's right. No sunlight, no sun life. Airline industry, you are grounded. 1990 in Cameron County, Texas, rates of neural 2 birth defects begin to rise, primarily driven by an increase in anencephaly, which halts brain development. This increase is not noted until a year later. Now it is blamed on the effects of a fusarium epidemic in corn. And then, of course, USDA Food and Drug Administration issues draft guidelines for maximum levels of fuminosin allowed in food. 2000. In a letter to federal officials, the Texas Department of Health worries that the level may be too high for people who consume corn as a dietary staple, especially Hispanic populations. 2002 to 12, Representative John Mica brings up his desire to restart the fusarium mycoherbicide program in the U.S. House hearing titled America's Heroin Crisis, Colombian Heroin and How We Can Improve Plan Colombia. So Plan Colombia was where they were spraying this mold that would kill cocaine plants. Well, I guess now they want to fire that program right back up. And don't spray the kudzu, man. Kudzu's beautiful. One more break. So, and here's some pictures of the rot that happens to plants that get affected by that. And the reason why I'm talking about all this is, let's skip that because I got it on the next slide. Here's another really interesting one. This is from the South Savannah River nuclear site. I could have just read that. Savannah River National Lab, microspheres for micro worlds using hollow glass nano bubbles made from nuclear waste for areas such as nuclear proliferation and global warming. Now, there was a story on CNS News that goes something like this. Savannah River National Lab has come up with a way to turn nuclear waste into glass balls. They can put sulfur inside those glass balls. They can put those nuclear glass balls inside of jet fuel, and then they can disperse those nuclear glass balls filled with sulfur into the sky and cool the planet. Now, I tried to call the guy who wrote the damn article. I got no response. I tried to call CNS News. Kind of interesting attempt to do that. But regardless, that's the story, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, but these microspheres are real things. In their own literature, they do say this to help with areas such as global warming. They do mention that they would, and also there's a quote, abatement of global warming effects. So that's two veiled references. They could be geoengineering references from the Savannah River website, but other than that, I haven't been able to verify it. But regardless, I'm going to throw it out there. This is a Savannah River National Lab microsphere filled with palladium. See? It's like a little egg filled with palladium. Gotta love that. It says, the combined effort is expected to lead to new capabilities and initiatives for educating and training the next generation of nuclear workforce in support of regional and national interests. such as energy independence, nuclear medicine, nuclear deterrence and safeguards, and global warming. Interesting. So it was a Cybercast news service that it was right here, and it was the original link was christianheadlines.com/something something. And it said the particles consisting of a very fine special form of glass, porous walled glass microspheres, would be able to absorb a certain amount of carbon dioxide and would reflect sunlight away from the earth. The overall goal of this task is to understand and evaluate the implications of deploying porous glasses as an agent to reduce global warming, the DOE work proposal said. So, stick nuclear glass balls filled with, I guess they're saying that they could sequester CO2, so they would somehow suck CO2 into themselves after they were dispersed, or they would suck up the CO2 from the burning process of the fuel, thereby offsetting what the planes were doing. I don't really totally understand this quote, but regardless, they're saying putting some freaking glass balls in jet fuel, burning it in the sky. Can verify it. Definitely a real thing. Is it being used? I don't know. Still, chemtrails. Chemtrails. Videotape of tests of UAVs equipped to deliver chemical payloads. Nice links over there. Nanotechnology paves way for new weapons. Regulating weaponized nanotechnology. How the International Criminal Court offers a way forward. You get the picture. This is also from the Air Force 2025 series. This is not from Owning the Weather in 2025. This dork over here read them all. So here's some highlights from the other papers in the 2025 series. UAV constellations provide precise control for aerosol dispersal, allow controlled suspension of airborne particles, enable weather control over localized areas, provide precise control for electromagnetic or other field generation. And that's from Weather Control UAV Constellations. It's a side paper in the concept section. Here's another one. This is from 2025 Operational Analysis. Attack microbots. Attack microbots, sensor microbots. Various deployment approaches are possible, including dispersal as an aerosol, transportation by a larger platform, and full flying, crawling autonomy. Freaky ass aerosol robots coming to you via drones and jet exhaust. Gotta love that. Just stick the little boogers in the gas tank and burn them everywhere. I put NWO smart dust computers can track everything. And this is about this guy, this jackass actually says, you know, you could actually breathe one in your nose and you would never even know it. Yeah, gotta love that. And then I hit that old rogue geoengineering can't be detected thing here. And I think we're at the bottom of this, making the point. Do you really think that's air? It's full of the chemtrails. So finally, the point I'm trying to make is this has all happened before. So from back in the 50s, the U.S. Army Chemical Corps released radioactive waste, radioactive zinc, cadmium, sulfur, and never asked a soul if they could do it. History does repeat itself, and that's why we're talking about this here today. As a side note, this month, every fundraiser to try to pay for the 3 servers that I have: ClimateViewer.com, ClimateViewer.org, and WeatherModificationHistory.com. Currently, we're at I am at $335 of $1,000. If you guys would like to donate and support that, I'd really appreciate it. Back to the story. So this is a situation where, in this map that you're seeing, that I did this picture PDF, and the little cross here is where they dump the chemicals, and right here in the center, this little line right center of this, that's a school, a poor black school in St. Louis. And what they did was they mapped where the radioactive material went. And the reason they didn't know, if a nuclear bomb were to go off in America, They wanted to know how that radioactive waste, that radioactive aerosols would travel through the cities. And you can see behavior of aerosol clouds within cities, Chemical Corps, U.S. Army. This is their report. And what we're talking about over here is how this is all a secret program where they sprayed the public and didn't give a shit what anybody thought about it. And in fact, actually seriously hurt people despite what they said. So I go into Operation Popeye, just give a little background in the article. We'll skip past all that. And the herbicides and Operation Ranch Hand and Trail Dust, where they sprayed all the different agent chemicals. Then we had entomological warfare, Operation Rat Fleas, studying them for the use as a biological warfare as a disease vector. Operation Big Buzz, 1955. 330,000 uninfected mosquitoes were dropped by aircraft in E-14 bombs. Yeah, so this is your military. This is without your approval, I'm sure. And it's definitely not a good thing. Not a good thing. So Operation Mayday, Savannah, Georgia. More mosquitoes. Operation Dropkick, Savannah, Georgia. Damn, I don't want to live there. More mosquitoes. 600,000 mosquitoes were released by plane. Can you even imagine that? Also see unethical human experimentation in the United States, U.S. biological warfare, and the deleted Operation Sunshine Project org page on biological warfare where you can read tons more on that stuff. So this is a video, I think it's by Sheila Aliens, and halfway through this, there's actually testimony. Well, it's Fox News interviewing people who were actually harmed by this chemical release. So despite what you're going to read on debunking bullshit Snopes websites or anything saying that, oh, zinc cadmium sulfide, it's completely simple, safe. It's didn't hurt a soul. Right in here, right about here, you'll see the victims. And there they are. That's them right there. Get out of my way. And these are people, secret human testing. This is downtown St. Louis news. This just broke a couple years ago. And they actually interviewed these people and they talk about what they went through. So don't let bullshitters say that this wasn't a serious thing, that it really happened and it wasn't actually hurting people. So moving along, Operation Large Area Coverage, Operation Do 1 and 2, and the St. Louis thing. Now, the St. Louis thing that you're seeing right here, the reason why it made the news is because this lady wrote this paper on the spraying in St. Louis. Now, I read that whole paper, and you can see it right here. Let's hope that it has not gone away. If it has, it's on archive.org because I back up everything I read. But looks like it's going to take forever. I got too many damn windows open, people. Got a lot of them open today. There we go. The Manhattan-Rochester Coalition research on the health effects of radioactive materials and tests on vulnerable populations without consent in St. Louis, 1945 to 1970. By Martino Taylor, Lisa, PhD. So Lisa Martino Taylor wrote this paper, and this is 2011. That's when the video you just saw happened, and that's when everybody kind of hit the, shit hit the fan. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because I did some research on this, and here is the actual paper from the U.S. Army where they admit everywhere they sprayed. The reason this is all important. They waited 50 freaking years to admit this. It may be old stuff to you, Joey Roberts, but a whole lot of people watching tonight, this is news. And this is the reason I'm bringing it up. History does repeat itself. Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. The U.S. Army Chemical Corps was able to spray 100,000 square miles of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia from 52, let's see, March to April. From March to April of 52, they sprayed 100,000 square miles of 3 states, and nobody even knew it. And the list just goes on. So the point I'm trying to make is If they can do all this and spray all of these places with radioactive material without a soul knowing for 50 years, you better bet your sweet ass the CIA can do it too on a worldwide basis, and nobody will ever knew. No, and I know that because over here on ClimateViewer.org, I've been collecting, satellite sensors and all that. They've got this really cool one. Everybody's seen, the True Color satellite, and it's pretty fancy. They also have ones that highlight X and chemtrails, and of course, they'll probably take forever because I'm too many windows. I should not even try this right now. I have too many windows open for this show. But regardless, I have enough sensors to prove what they're talking about. They don't have enough sensors to be caught. They can get away with murder. So they can geoengineer the whole planet. And I mean, we covered the Janet Airlines. We covered a couple others. I've got some extra. There's like a secret airlines on YouTube and secret airport entrances and secrecy involved in, the military. They claim they can fly it whenever they like. They don't have to be tracked, and they can get away with bloody murder. So if you don't think that the CIA and the U.S. Air Force could geoengineer the planet unilaterally, like the Council on Foreign Relations said so, especially when you saw all the references I just provided, then you're really not paying a lot of attention, because there's a 100-year history of this sort of thing. And it just seems so, and you just put the two together. You've got the CIA screwing with the crops in Cuba in 76, same time they were doing weather warfare in Vietnam. Today, you think it ain't happening, you're crazy. The solution for secret government chemtrails, FOIA, you can do for now. Send FOIAs to the CIA, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, attach them to the Air Force Research Lab, ask them for climate engineering and climate intervention, since they like albedo modification, stratospheric aerosol injection, go through down the list. Because I know all of this stuff about it, and now you do too. But all of this is real. All of this is military. All of this is national security. I constantly ask myself this question. So for the last couple of years, I am going to focus on calling it all clouds and dealing with it that way, and calling it pollution and dealing with it that way. And still, send a FOIA or two. You're never going to get a response. The third hearing that Congress had over Vietnam, the weather warfare in Vietnam, is still classified to this day, because they don't want to disclose methods, and you know how it goes. So if something related to Operation Popeye from 1976 is still classified to this day, you're not going to get it out of the CIA. You'll probably never, ever get a response. So my solution is, at least we deal with the United Airlines, the Delta Airlines, the Southwest Airlines, deal with it like a pollution problem. Hell, you might find out that it was a secret government program with them too. But the only way you're going to ever find that out is if you at least try. So that's why I went to the EPA hearing and gave them hell. That's why I'm interviewing the head of the FAA. That's why I'm going to break balls in all of these government institutions until I get some real answers. But the reason why it's frustrating, the likelihood of us getting those answers are slim to none. Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And I hope that this is not going to be one of those cases. I don't want to be, 40 years from now, sitting in a rocking chair, just finding out, damn it, it was the CIA. I was right. So this is kind of the presentation I was going to give at the Chemtrail Summit, was to finally go, these are the facts. These are, if you're looking for a boogeyman, this is balls deep, like you're saying in chat. Yes, this is balls deep. But now that you know that it's probably one of the 3-letter agencies, somebody get in touch with me after you see this video and you give me your solution. Because I'm about solutions. I don't want to talk about it without giving you a solution. My solution right now for this moment is support ClimateViewer 3D. Patreon.com/ClimateViewer. I am trying to build a network of sensors that we can connect and catch people modifying the weather, to be able to tell the difference between a natural cloud and an unnatural cloud. We're going to need a lot of sensor power and some artificial intelligence. And I've been working on that for 5 years with a good friend of mine who's a genius as well. So please support us at patreon.com/ClimateViewer and do some FOIAs and send them to me. If you get a FOIA response, send it to me. So guys, I think we're done here tonight, and I couldn't go any longer. But I really appreciate you all tuning in and staying up late with me, because I couldn't be there in Oregon, and neither could you. You guys are up late talking about the chemtrails. So guys, I really hope that you guys will review this tape. I know that I said a lot tonight. You'd probably have to watch it a couple of times. The longer it gets, the less likely people are to watch it. And that's where I am my own worst enemy. I don't do 5-minute videos. I don't, put out 10, 20 a week. But I try to keep it honest, and I try to keep it real, and I try to keep it real honest. So these are the facts. This is my story. I'm sticking to it until something better comes along. If you guys got good links, send them to me. I'm at jim@climateviewer.com. jim@climateviewer.com is my email. Of course, climateviewer.com, climateviewer.org is the 3D map, and weathermodificationhistory.com. Look out for Dominic and Jolene's presentation they did in Oregon, and of course, watch everybody else who was there, and stay tuned. I'm going to be doing these usually at 10 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. I probably should put that out there, like actually put something on a sidebar or something and say that I do this every week at 10 o'clock on Sunday Eastern Standard Time, so you guys will know to expect something. And I'll try to be better about scheduling them in advance so you guys will know when to be here. And in the future, if you guys can get on Google Hangouts, I will invite people in, because I love a good argument. Holy hell, I need some debates at this point. Somebody to bring the ruckus for all y'all motherfuckers. All right, so it feels great to finally be able to talk the way I want to, when I want to, and how I want to. So let's continue doing this, and I hope you guys will tune in randomly through the week, and I'll be here on Sunday. Please share this video around, share my websites, and ask me some questions, guys. Love you, mean it. With that being said, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Love you, mean it.